Happy Friday, and I just want to start this video by saying that I'm sorry there's a huge buildup to explaining what I'm drawing in this video. I have no way of gauging what my audience knows about League of Legends, even though I am trying to target more League players, I guess, right now. So if you're here, welcome, and to everyone who's watching this video, please bear with me. So last weekend was the League of Legends 2022 Worlds Finals. Now, I haven't played much League. In fact, I haven't even gotten to the point in the game where you can pick your own rune sets, and I have probably played 20 games, including the tutorials. So needless to say, if you're here for top tier League lore and information, you're at the wrong channel. However, I did really enjoy watching the finals, and so for example, watching the Olympics is very entertaining, and you can become heavily invested in a sport that you don't care about all the other 360 whatever days of the year. What I'm trying to say here is that I was disproportionately hyped for Worlds 2022 for someone who had to look up some of the champions that were being played in the game. Anyways, for the last 12 years, Riot Games has been specifically releasing world skins for League champions who are chosen by the winning team of the finals as a way of honoring the team's success and victory, which I think is really cool in general, but also it's cool because a lot of my overall interest in League of Legends is fueled by the splash art drawn for champion skins. BeryL is one of the veterans of the League World Championships, and he actually already has his own skin for another champion, Leona. This year, BeryL requested a skin to be made for Ashe, inspired by Elysia from Honkai Impact 3. And BeryL, I've done it. So while Riot definitely has artists that are Leagues better than I am, I do have one edge on them. MiHoYo can't sue me for copyright infringement, hopefully, because I am not making any money off of selling this as a champion skin or money off of it at all. So anyways, let's get into it. First off, my channel has never been super friendly in terms of flashing lights, but this video is going to possibly be the worst in terms of blinking movements, all that, so just a heads up. This is the biggest project I've done on this channel. It's a more complicated pose, complicated outfit design, plus I wanted to up the quality a little bit more from my usual work and just push myself to the limits, because how can I even compete with existing League splash art if I don't work extra hard on it? And how is BeryL even going to know that I made this? No, but on a more serious note, this drawing took me about 12 hours and 20 minutes, which is about 3 times as long as I usually spend on a single piece of art. To really put that number into perspective, for every minute that passes in this speed draw, that's over 40 minutes that I spent in real time working on the piece. Let me tell you, my housekeeping suffered just a little bit. The Ashe and Elysia lovers had better come to support me for all this work. Actually, I had a lot of fun with this piece. It exercised my brain in a lot of ways that I didn't expect. I had to use a reference for the drawing because I'm not very good at action shots and movement. If you've watched my videos before, you already know that for most of my drawings, the characters are standing relatively still, so I definitely had to use a reference pose, which I don't always love doing because I get very unreasonably so anxious about people who might say I traced or stole art, but there's just no way I could break out a pose like this from my thoughts, even if I would like to be able to do that. I also had a very hard time with the anatomy of this pose, or rather, the lack of correct anatomy in this pose. If you've seen League champions, I mean, they truly do come in all shapes and sizes, but I was trying to combine Ashe and Elysia, who are both very shaped. And I actually sent the original sketch to a friend who was much more experienced in both League and MiHoYo, and I asked how it looked so far, and the only advice that he gave was bigger boobs. So I did. Now, I would not say my art style is realistic by any means, but for some reason this particular anatomy challenge made my brain hurt a bit. But I prevailed to bring boobs to the boobs, people. In fact, I spent 40 minutes shading just her torso. I don't think I'm paid enough for this. In fact, I'm not paid at all for this. I should start a Patreon, or maybe just cut the middle bit out. Riot should just immediately hire me to make art. I know I'm not as good as your regular artists, Riot, but counter offer. I'll play more League. I won't get better at it because I'm not great at games, and I'm even worse at learning from my mistakes, but I'll play. As difficult as the anatomy and pose were, I really enjoyed sketching the drawing. I really loved the sketching phase. If only I had known just how long the drawing phase would take, maybe I would have picked an easier drawing to work on while recovering from being sick. But I have been recovering quite quickly. I do think it's because besides general cough management medicine, I also started taking vitamins to boost my immune system really early on when I got sick, so my symptoms aren't as bad as I thought they should be, and also it's only a week later, and besides being a little congested, if you can hear that, the only difference I notice from my normal self is that my energy levels are a little bit lower. So I can't seem to get as much work done as I usually can in a day, and I sleep a lot more, but yeah, I'm doing okay, and thank you for the get well wishes and telling me to rest up and things like that. It's all very kind of you, and it helped me feel better. So the way I've gone about this drawing and the way I go about most of my drawings, I start with a base frame for the body, making sure I get all the foreshortening and angles and action lines correct, and after that I start to fill in more details, figuring out where the clothing will go, where hair will fly, and also blocking in the major patterns on clothing or armor pieces. Now, to prevent the problem of my line art looking worse than the sketch, I started doing this sort of painterly style where I just merge the sketch layer down as part of the color layer and build up lighting and shading to hide the sketch. I have been doing this kind of art style since March of this year, I think, and honestly it's been working pretty well for me. Plus it saves me the pain of hiding the sketch layer only to see subpar line art. Can't have failed line art if you don't have line art. If you have seen my videos before, you know that my nemesis is drawing hair, so it's time to face the dragon. I didn't have a great time, but honestly the hair was nothing in comparison to the shading on her outfit and the bow. I don't work in a super organized fashion when shading. I often will just bulk out major details of a piece and like the biggest shadowy or light spots, and then later come back after a break. I find that this helps me get sort of a fresh eyes feeling, and jumping around drawing different textures in different places helps with like the small scale burnouts. So if I'm too tired of pushing and pulling the hair texture, I can just work on clothing or armor and come back to the hair later. Plus, this allows for gradual color adjustment over the course of the drawing to help with overall balance. Also, I am aware that Ashe's base skin has this white blonde hair, and I feel like that's her most iconic look. However, a lot of Ashe's skins vary her hair color, so I thought giving her pink hair like Elysia wouldn't be the end of the world. I think it looks pretty cool. I still wonder if it would be nicer if I had left it blonde, either that or make the pink a little darker, and I do change the color balance gradually over the course of the video, so the colors do get more vibrant and the contrast increases a bit. Here I am working on her face. Her face goes through a lot. I wasn't happy with the face shape or the facial features that I gave her. Ashe has very sharp features, while Elysia has more gentle features that are very typical of MiHoYo characters, and balancing the powerful but soft and sweet energy of Elysia with the I'll step on you vibe that Ashe gives off was a little difficult. This led to a lot of cutting out of original features and resizing them, repositioning them. Luckily with digital art, that's something you can do relatively easily. I actually come from a background of traditional art. While I finally had the tools to make digital art and started making digital art in 2017, it didn't become my primary medium until about 2 or 3 years ago. Before then, I did mostly black and white pencil drawings as well as a few acrylic paintings. A lot of the skills were very transferable, especially when I upgraded my digital art system from a regular drawing tablet to a tablet with like a screen display, which is what I work on now. But I've drawn so much digital art now that I often think of pressing Ctrl-Z while making traditional art and lament that I cannot change the physical drawing aspect sizes like I can do in digital drawing. This leg guard armor piece right here was one of my favorite things to work on in the entire drawing. I gotta say, I think I should draw more armor on characters. Armor is very intimidating to draw because of layering of metal and fabric, and also getting the shine, reflections, and texture right. Plus it's just a lot of detailing. But it's something that I really enjoy, so maybe I should start getting into drawing more characters with armor and possibly mechs. Here I go back to working on hair again. While working on the armor, I had sort of a breakthrough about shiny reflections and whatnot, so with newfound energy, I go back to shading in smaller details around the big locks of hair that I already started shading in, as well as cleaning up some of the messy edges left from the original sketch. And even though this isn't the last time I go back and work on the hair, I do think at this point the hair finally gets pushed past the ugly stage of painting a drawing and into actually being something with potential. That's sort of the problem with having a painty style, is that there's always a pretty long stage, usually during the shading process, where the whole thing is just a big ugly blob of colors and you need to slowly shape and refine that into something nicer, and it can make working on a piece very taxing and feel a little hopeless. But you just gotta push through and keep going, because you will eventually hit that crest of realizing it's a nice piece, and this usually happens just before the end of it. I remember this was the bit in the drawing where I had a really rough time getting through. I think I jump around the drawing a lot while working on different parts and trying to organize it into things that I had left, and also resisting the urge to go back and work on parts of the drawing that I had pretty much already finished. So I want to talk a little bit about the League Finals. I know most of my followers are here because of just art, possibly D&D, but to sort of tie over understanding between people who are discovering me because of this particular piece of art and interest in League or the League Finals. And once again, I want to say I don't play a lot of League, and I know some gamers can get spicy or particular about fans and whatnot. I don't need that. I don't bring that here. I'm not trying to become a League channel or claiming anything like that. I'm just drawing this because I thought the concept was cool, and I really enjoyed watching the finale. The players from both teams are insanely skilled. There was such fast-paced decision-making and teamwork, and their knowledge and flexibility in the game, and then just having perfect timing. All of it was incredible to watch in real time. And then afterwards, I got to watch my husband and his friends all hop into League afterwards, and it was great because you could see, like, in the characters that they chose and in the characters that the opposing team would choose, everyone was super pumped up and hyped from having watched the League Finals, and they were all inspired to try these new characters that had been used to win the finals. Even my husband is practicing at getting better at playing Azir, because watching someone else play a champion that you would like to be good at inspires you to do better. And yes, my husband is a League player. I know, they say your body is a temple and you shouldn't be sharing it with anyone who plays League of Legends, but in my defense, he started playing after we got married. Okay, enough of the memes that my friends sent to me once they found out that my husband played League. Back to the finals. If you're not in the loop about the League Worlds, then you don't know the story of Deft and Faker, which is crazy, straight out of an anime, and I'm just gonna give you a quick version without all the details. Deft and Faker are the aliases of two of the players, and they sort of became the respective poster childs for their team, DRX and T1. Deft and Faker went to high school together, and already Faker was an exceptional League player, and Deft swore to someday be as good as and eventually surpass Faker. 2022 comes, and DRX, the team that Deft is on, makes it to the world's finale, where he is set to face off against, yes, you guessed it, Faker and his team. At this point, Faker is a multiple time returning champion. T1 is currently the top team in the world, having won 3 world championships. Tensions are high, and so the League Finals are set up to be best 3 out of 5 games. DRX and T1 were both 2-2 by round 4. All the games, especially the final game, it was just so aggressive and high energy and just full of incredible plays. And at the end of round 5, DRX makes it out on top. Deft surpassed Faker. Which, isn't that just some anime webtoon manhwa stuff going on? Isn't that crazy? Like, we've been running our lives in these little circles, and these two guys are out here being the main characters, having childhood rivalry, literally competing to be the very best like no one ever was. I just think that's wild and inspiring and insane. Like, don't get me wrong, I would have been super happy either way the win went. T1 probably has a ton of dedicated fans. They're still the top team in the world. I'm just there happy to be witnessing such an incredible event unfold before my eyes. But at the same time, it was hard not to root for DRX since they were considered to be the underdogs of the event. Back to the design, there was a lot of deviations from the original Elysia look, because I didn't want it to be exactly the same, only heavily inspired. One of the main deviations is this set of wings, which I think would look really cool floating behind the little Ashe's champion sprite in-game. These wings, as well as the addition of several little hearts throughout the design, were actually inspired by one of Elysia's skins or battlesuits called the Herrscher of Human Ego, and at some point I thought that I was going to take the wings out since they weren't really part of the original Elysia design, but again, I just thought they were neat and I enjoyed coloring the metal texture, so they stayed in. Yes, I finally decided it's time to give her eyebrows. I was going to do a very arched frowning eyebrow at some point, but I decided instead to give her a much softer, more neutral expression instead, which I think suits her pretty well. Getting to the last few details, and by last few details I mean last 2 hours of the drawing, I finally start working on her bow. I was very intimidated by the bow because I don't typically draw weapons on my characters. If I do, they're like swords usually, let alone a complicated bow like this one. Also, only in hindsight, I realized that I lost a lot of the curve to the bow when I was adjusting the perspective of the sketch, but at this point there's enough of the drawing that's done that there isn't really a good way to go about fixing that, so it's just an unfortunate feature that I'm going to chalk up to Fantasyland fantasy physics. The bow and arrow, and also the hands holding them, are all sort of unfortunate in their own way. If I could go back and redo anything, it would probably be that, and maybe the crystals that I included on her pauldrons. At this point though, this is 9 hours into the drawing, and I'm not about to go in and change everything to fix it. Also, I finally give her a face. Before going back to the bow, I did make the decision to leave her with a neutral lip color instead of making it bright or match the crystals. Ashe in her default skin is featured with a bright red lip, however Elysia, well, MiHoYo's character designs don't lend themselves well to lip colors, so instead I had some nice gloss going on and decided to keep it fairly neutral. Again, back to the bow, I think my biggest struggle with this was that I never decided on a specific material for the bow. I never figured, oh, this should be metal or it should be wood. So my shading is just sort of matte and neutral with no bright, shiny highlights. I think it would have benefited me to have colored with a specific material in mind like metal, but it is what it is. Now I know this is nowhere near to the level of artistry as seen in League of Legends splash art, and also the composition is kind of lacking. I really don't end up doing much to the background either. Even though I wanted to, I was just too worried about distracting from the main attraction, so I just made sort of a fluffy cloud background. I think if I had been a little more bold, I could have done a very beautiful dark dramatic background and added rim lighting, and I could have made the blue details in the drawing glow more. I also think if I had positioned her in such a way that there was a little more foreshortening or a more dramatic angle, or if I could zoom in on the pose instead of having her feel very far away from the viewer, it would have aligned more with the look of traditional League splash art. However, it was important to me that the entire body, head to toe, was visible in the final drawing, because for me this is more than just splash art, it's a chance to showcase the entire skin design. This is when I take a step back and realize I started working on the background a little too soon. I had forgotten to add the fur on her cloak, so yet again we are here with my nemesis hair and fluffy fur. This actually wasn't horrible, but I do feel like since I was really pushing to get it done, it doesn't exactly match the soft style of the rest of the drawing, but it's passable. And of course her arrow and bowstrings. I really wanted this to have the effect of an arrow made from light, which I have no idea if that's relevant to either Elysia or Ashe, but it's a liberty and a detail that I thought would look super cool, plus I made it, which is the color of Ashe's default skin arrows. I adjust the color and add some more glowy details because it just didn't feel complete without something like a flower petal firefly, glowing dust specks details just floating around. It just felt like the right thing to do. And with that, we are at the very end of 12 hours and 20 minutes of work. You know what? I'll say it. I love how this piece turned out, and whether you're a Lady Split Chin fan, a MiHoYo fan, a League fan, or just an art and character design fan in general, I hope you also like how this piece turned out. If you don't like it, it's okay. I'm the middle child, and I'm used to disappointing people. As per usual, I think there are certainly changes that I could have made to elevate this piece. I could have spent more time refining all the rough edges that I had a hard time with. I could have upped the contrast, made my dark colors darker. At the same time, I think I did great managing my time between wanting to get this within a relevant time span from the world's finale, and then having been sick and recovering, and just general life things. I will be posting this to Twitter and Instagram like most all of my drawings. I have no idea if that will result in anything, because I am but a little mushroom lady. Riot Senpai will never notice me, uwu. Jokes aside, I hope you all enjoyed this video. Thank you all for your support. I love being able to make art and share it with you. It really means the world to me when you leave your appreciation in whatever form, whether it's as simple as watching, or if you end up subscribing, commenting, telling your friends about my art. It's all great, and I love you all. You're super cool. And maybe, now that I've drawn waifu content, my channel will rocket into fame. Probably not, but who knows? Not me.